Welcome to Let's Get Moody, the weekly color challenge to get you painting. It is week 2. This is Tea Party. Set the timer for 10 minutes and off we go. If you have not joined Let's Get Moody, you can do that by signing up below. It is a weekly challenge that comes to your inbox and has color, mood boards, and prompts to help you get your creativity flowing. And then each week, I am showing you what I create in 10 minutes. So today I started with some Derwent Inktense pencils and some Jelly Roll pens. The Inktense pencils are really cool because you can draw with them, but then when I add water in a minute, you'll see that they look like watercolor spreading around the page. So they're kind of fun to work with. And I have tried some other watercolor pencils like the Arteza brand because they're so much less expensive and they're a good place to start. The color doesn't spread quite as much as the Derwent Inktense. The Inktense pigments are very strong, so they spread pretty good. Scribbling with your pen and pencils can really help you just get started when you aren't sure what to do, because as soon as you start making marks on the page, your page isn't blank anymore, and your marks can start to inform what you're going to do next. And so the base layer, I usually just scribble around. If I know I want to make flowers, I make some circle shapes just to see, kind of get an idea for placement and composition. But it's not set in stone. I'm using acrylic paint this week, so I can cover over anything that I don't like. So this is some yellow ochre, one of my favorite paint colors. It is just like the perfect mustardy yellow that I just love. And you can see I'm not covering everything completely. I may on future layers, but I do like to see the first layer peeking through. Here's the water I was talking about. This is just water on my brush, and I'm going over the lines of the Inktense pencils. And you can see it's so strong that I actually got a patch next to the leaf, the other leaf. And you can work these as much as you want. I'm just going over them pretty lightly, but you can blend them so that the line isn't even there anymore. Like you can just keep going over it and over it until it's blended in. And there's my yellow. It's a pretty bright yellow. So the idea with the tea party prompt is just, garden parties and tea sets. And I just pictured like a cute little bouquet of yellow flowers sitting on the table as the tea party is happening. If you've never been to an actual English tea party, I highly recommend it. My beautiful friend Helen hosted a tea party for us one time, and it was so fun and so beautiful. It's quite the experience. She has an English background, and so she really knows how to do it well, and so that was a lot of fun. If you don't have a friend with an English background, there are definitely tea houses and tea party places you can go to experience it too. All right, so filling in with the green, just some foliage and leaves to give the painting some more depth and background. And let's see, here's some blue. So I like putting the blues and greens in this one. It kind of makes it look like there's some sky peeking through behind the bouquet. And I do like to put that first layer of colors down and then start filling things in. It's just part of my process. And I didn't always have a process. It took a long time for me to figure out what I actually like in a process format. I liked a lot of things, but I didn't come up with a process until I heard 2 artists coming up or telling about their own processes and how it really helped them get to the point where they could finish paintings. and I needed that. I always have had a hard time finishing paintings. And so as soon as I started doing this process, I was able to quickly put down marks and paint and come up with some beautiful abstract florals that are going to be releasing soon. So that was really exciting to figure out a process. Just know it will take years, probably. Maybe you're quicker, maybe you'll be quicker than me, but it took me years to figure out. All right, we're already halfway through again. So you can see 10 minutes is really fast. It doesn't give you time to think too much. I'm just putting in these pink spaces as like a little filler flower that could be in the bouquet. But I like the 10-minute challenge because it doesn't allow me to think too much. I'm just painting and seeing what happens and letting my previous paint marks dictate what I want to do next. So I know that there's some red in the color palette this week, and so adding some red into the mix with tiny dots. I don't use a ton of red in my paintings, but this is a fun way to add some darker value and dimension to these flowers. You can always just work on an abstract piece, make different shapes around your page if you aren't sure what to paint. Here I'm just adding in a slightly different color to add some interest to my flowers, give them more a look of some petals. Again, if you aren't sure what to do and you start to make flowers or abstract shapes on your page, start to add in slightly different colors on top of what you've already painted, and it will start to add some interest for you. You can tell now looking at the flowers that have different layers of color versus the leaves that have none, that the flowers are becoming more interesting. And I was just scratching into the paint with a nail. Like, yes, the hardware nail. I grabbed it from my husband's workbench. It's one of my favorite tools to scratch into paint. You know, tiny brush marks, big brush marks. Try and vary up your sizes of things to make things interesting again. It's all about variety when you paint. So because my little tiny flowers are so small, I made them small because the yellow flowers were big. And the tiny red dots are smaller than the pink flowers. And so it all makes interest and movement around your page. Here I'm just adding in really loose brush marks. I could have done this with my left hand as well, my non-dominant hand, to get an even looser line. But one trick to get a loose line with your dominant hand is to hold your brush further up. You can see I'm holding it about halfway. So the halfway trick does help. You can't control the brush as well. All right, we have about a minute to go. We're getting close to the end. So I like to do these 10-minute exercises, and then later on, once it's dry, maybe the next day, I'll look back at them again and see if I want to add anything or change anything. And that's totally fine to do. You can do it or you don't have to. If it's in your sketchbook, you can do one and move on. And then after a while, once you go flip through your book again, it's so fascinating to see the marks that come out because you're not thinking during this 10-minute thing, and you'll start to notice a thread in your work of some of the same marks and some of the same lines, and that is your style trying to come out. So that's very exciting. I'm almost done. And that's time. Okay. I hope you enjoyed that one. If you aren't part of the Let's Get Moody list, sign up in the comments below. I'd love to have you get these prompts straight to your inbox. I'll see you next week.